I think you have to look at it locally and globally. From a global perspective, the zero interest rate environment in the world has pushed a lot of money to all markets and elevated asset prices across markets. So if there were to be problems and people doubt that zero interest rates will continue, like for example if Fed were to increase rates significantly, then I think there is a scope for a global correction, because the global market rally has always been led by the interest rate environment. And post-Brexit, people have become even more relaxed that interest rates will remain lower for longer. So if that happens, if something goes wrong there is a possibility of a downside. From a domestic angle, we are a believer that economic cycle will improve over the next 2 years. We don't see any evidence of euphoria at this point of time. We don't see, of course, panic also. And so we are a believer in a moderate returns, because the economic cycle is likely to improve over the next 2 years with capacity utilization rising across many sectors. We expect earnings to improve over the next 2 years. I mean, to give you an example, there was an uptick, let's say, in commercial vehicle or sugar. These were two economic cycles which played out. And if you had bought commercial vehicles after a big rally in the commercial vehicles, you wouldn't have made money. Similarly, sugar prices went up substantially, and after they went up, you bought it. I think there was a recent correction. So I believe you have to buy ahead of the economic cycle, and therefore we think over the next 2 years you should get moderate returns based on local environment. So as long as the global environment remains where it is, you should get moderate returns over the next 2 years. See, from a thematic perspective, what is costly clearly at this point of time is consumer. Clearly, some of the consumer discretionary plays have also become costly. So the market is is a big believer in consumer-oriented investment. Our view is anything outside consumer-oriented investments look reasonably valued for the economic cycle. And you had a long cycle of consumer discretionary and consumer doing well. Having said that, I must tell you, for the past 3 years, we believed that consumer was expensive, but consumer continued to deliver. So, and the other cycle continued to be bad. But I still, if you had to ask me, I'll say over a 2-year period, it is the non-consumer oriented industries which should do well. See, first, I'm a believer value strategy is something which will work in the long run in all markets. Now, what Seth Klarman says is you have to be contrarian, but you should have a calculator. So what it means is you cannot say I'll be contrarian, I'll buy some junk and it'll go up. You have to decide where to bet. So if you go back 1 year back, there was panic in metal stocks. And go back to August 24th, 2015. That time there was panic, and you can see the returns that have happened in multiple metal stocks over the last 1 year. So at the same time, if you had bought some junk infra stock, it hasn't recovered. So, for example, we have bet on telecom, saying that it's a sector where there is a lot of fear right now. So we say over the next 3 years, the leading players in telecom should do well, because you've been worried about it for a long period of time on threat of new entrants. So whereas there are areas like IT, for example, which has done very badly for the last 6 months, we have actually not bet there. We are saying that there was a long up cycle there, so let's wait. On the other hand, consumer, in pharmaceutical, there was a big correction. After the correction, we actually bought, saying many of the company specific issues may get resolved over a period of time. That has partially worked, not fully. So I think you have to be contrarian. A lot of things can be value trap, but you have to be contrarian, but you have to have a calculator, which means you have to do your work.